Hey, and welcome back. So what we're going to do now is talk about another type of loop called the while loop. So what we did in the previous lecture was describe what a for loop does, and what a for loop does is that it runs statements over and over again, and um, you do it for some fixed number of iterations. So you say range 10, and it goes all the way 0 to 9 or whatever. Okay, now what we're going to do is discuss this thing called a while loop. So here's a example. So it's going to be like a bank savings example. And the whole idea about while loops is that for some condition, um, you let the loop run, and while the condition is true, it keeps running and 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 running, and then when the condition is false, the loop stops. So that means you could have a condition where it's true forever, and the while loop will keep running. So I think before we jump into the example, I'll show you the how to do it. So for example, let's say, okay, so let's define something like this. So let's make some space. So I equals 0 at the start, right? And then we'll say that while I is less than 3, so that's the syntax: while space condition colon print print I. So whatever the value of I is. And then after that, I'm going to say increase I by 1. So there are many ways to increase I. One way is actually in Go and C++, you can just do this, but that doesn't happen in Python. In Python, you can go, so the new value of I is going to equal I plus equals I, just that, sorry. It's going to I equals I plus 1, right? Or if you want to be smart, a shortcut is like that. So yeah, so that means that's the same thing as, so this is a comment, that's the same thing as writing I plus 1, right? Okay, so a comment, so that's how you do a comment, and the code won't read this comment here. Okay, so it'll increment it by 1, and then the next time we do the loop, I is going to be 1 more than 0. So we run that. So it went 0, 1, 2, 3. So on that third iteration where it's 2, it increases by 1, and then it goes through the loop again, checks if this condition is true. So now I is 3. It'll end the loop. It terminates because this condition is not satisfied. So that's the idea of a while loop. So you can actually combine a for loop and a conditional statement to make a while loop. You just have to have it so that whatever range for the for loop is greater than, it'll be greater than whatever condition you put inside the loop. The number of iterations ends up being bigger than whatever you put. But don't worry too much. That's just whatever it is. You just some deep thoughts. But no one cares. Okay, so let's go through this example. This is budgeting and bank savings and paying your rent and bills and food and things like that. So suppose you want to save up for a car, and maybe the car costs, what does the car cost? So let's say the car costs about $10,000, and you want to save up for it, but you need to take into account how much you get paid for working, and how much your rent is, how much your bills are, how much you need to eat for food. So we do that here. So we make a bunch of variables. So currently in your bank savings, you have $300, and you get paid $500 each week, say, and your rent costs $200, and your bills are $100, and food, you eat a lot, or maybe that's not a lot, I don't know. You pay $80 for food, right? Okay, so let's say week equals 1, week 1, and the cost of the car price is this. So we say while bank savings because that's the money you're going to buy it with, is less than car. So this is the case where we don't have enough money to buy the car. Yeah, we'll say, okay, increase the week by 1. So we're just counting, we're adding 1 more to the week. And we're going to say, okay, the new bank savings amount is going to be, so new bank savings amount, this funny looking symbol here is going to be the previous bank savings plus the pay minus the rent minus the bills minus the food. And then that should give you how much you have, right? And then this, and then we, so see this indentation here? So when it's indented, it's inside the loop, and when we go back outside the indentation, we exit the loop. So this final statement here is an F string, remember? It will take you these many weeks, sorry, my terrible spelling, to save for that car, right? Okay. So I ran it before, it's at 81, geez, 81, oh yeah, because if I run it again, okay, it'll take you 81 weeks to save for that car. So we'll run it, see, yeah, and so what it did was it extracted how many weeks there were, and it replaced it there with that variable. So that's the while loop. So it just keeps going until the condition is false. Okay, and I've written that all in these little things here. Okay, so next we have some ninja training, which I really like. I like ninja training. I think it's cool. So we will discuss this in the next video. Okay, so I'll see you for some ninja training.